Today we can talk about scrunching a shoulder and the rib, and I'm going to button up my shirt so that I can make this concept a little clearer because this shirt has grids on it, which makes it a little bit easier to see. So if you imagine all of these grid lines mapping out my body for ambidextrousness, then it'd be really easy to see when I scrunch one side up or down. So most people have a dominant hand, and so your dominant side is going to be the one that is more prone to either contracting inward, so you can see all these lines come together, or you're going to hike up a shoulder and contract the other way. Again, most people are going to contract toward their dominant side. So if I go to do something, my brain gets the request and sends it to my body is going to do it in the most easy dominant motor pattern. So if I am tight and restricted, and especially if you add in a layer of fear or urgency. So like, let's say you're worried your horse is going to run off with you, or your instructor is yelling something urgent at you that you need to do for fear of trouble, or you're trying to be a good student, or any layer of mental anxiety or stress you add to that, it's going to increase that hinky-jinkiness. So if I am, let's say, picking up a right flexion and my horse is not responding well, then what's really easy for me to do is to hink up this side of me. So my right rein would cross the main line. Here's the horse's neck. My right rein would cross the main line. My right calf turns into a hook, and my rib and my hip come together. So what this does is several things. It actually makes my seat bone point the horse into the leg I'm trying to move it away from. So if I'm trying to move my horse in a right bend, then you can see when I do this, my left seat bone is actually driving the horse to the right, and you can't see my knee. Maybe I can lower this. There we go. So my left seat bone, is driving the horse to the right. My knee is open, sending the horse this way. And I'm actually using my calf as a hook here to try to stop the horse from doing that, which is making me overaid with my right rein. I see this all the time. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not really that much. I see people do crazy stuff like this all the time. And they're not doing it intentionally. Nobody's trying. Most people are not trying to actually harm their horse. They're just trying to make something effective happen. So if they're trying to move their horse away from the right leg, this hinky-jinky thing happens, and it turns into a cascade of aids that are all in opposition to each other. So my right calf turns into a hook to try and move the horse over, but this seat bone is actually driving the horse into that belly. So you have to imagine the horse's barrel would be going into my leg, right? And so because I feel that the horse is falling into my leg, because I've got this big opening, I'm going to cross the main line, the rein across the main line, and that's actually going to cause me to hink up here. Okay, so when we get the hinkies, a lot of times what drives that is a loss of awareness of where we are in space, because a lot of times our eyes drop down to assess the problem, and that takes away our ability to keep our eyes level with the horizon, so your brain is not getting the same input about where your body is in space, right? So if your eyes are not level, then your whole body actually tends to not be level. Your whole body's going to follow that rotation. So if my head is not looking in the direction of where I'm trying to get the horse to go, it's very easy for my gaze to follow down, and everything offsets from there down. You can see that happen immediately, and typically it's going to rotate into a dominant pattern. So I'm right-handed, I'm prone to this, and so that's where my brain is going to take my body very quickly. Okay, so if I want to make a right arc without this space collapsing, then I need to take my gaze, my eyes level with the horizon first, and then turn my head level into a right bend, right? Then what I try to imagine, you can see my seat bones are still level, and this shirt is going to give away if I get crooked anywhere, is I take my ribs up off of my pelvis, but not so far that I overflex my back, okay? So here maybe I'm like a little dumped. I'm going to take my ribs off my pelvis. These lines are still straight. I'm going to use my core muscles to support my ribs now. My core muscles are supporting my ribs. I have a nice big open space in my belly so I can breathe fully and talk, and that's very, very important. Deep breathing is very important for riding. So now what I'm going to do to make my right circle is I'm going to rotate my ribs from the base of my spine up, rotating one by one by one until I'm in a right arc with the same distance from this rib to this hip on both sides. And that makes my core muscles and my back muscles have to support my ribs up off of my body. So we'll bring in Mr. Spiny. So if he were to collapse like me, he would end up doing this. He doesn't have a rib cage, but you can imagine that would not be good. So that makes my seat bones unlevel, right? That would drive his horse to the right. So we're going to level his seat bones and we're going to rotate very carefully without losing that spinal alignment. So it's almost like from the base of your spine, it's like a barber pole, and you wring each vertebrae a little at a time until you are in flexion, as opposed to this. So we're going to go this way, come back one by one by one by one by one, and then from the base of the spine, one by one by one by one by one. And that's a very controlled turn, keeping my seat bones level here. It's a very controlled turn so that I don't end up just contracting to one side or the other. Again, from the base of your spine, sit up tall and rotate. Rotate back to center and rotate. And then for our lateral movements, that's even more important, but I can't move laterally on this chair very well. But that's something for you to think about, is you, in sitting, bring your ribs up off of your pelvis so that there's space from your bottom rib to your top hip, and those spaces are equal. And as you rotate, you keep those spaces equal. So you rotate from the bottom of your spine through, and make sure you're looking and turning your head, because your eyes are very important actually for your body's awareness of where you are in space. So that's your take home for today, is the space between your bottom rib and your top hip, and the relation between your seat bones and your spine, and how that helps your leg aids and your hand aids be effective.